You are not hitting your protein target, not because you do not care, not because you lack discipline, but because nobody has ever shown you what hitting your protein target actually looks like for someone with a full-time job, a real life, and zero interest in spending Sunday afternoon cooking 12 chicken breasts. Today we are fixing that. Your daily protein target, the cheapest foods that hit it, and a full no-cook structure that gets you there before you have turned on a single burner. The reason protein matters more than almost every other fat loss variable is not a gym bro opinion. It is because protein does three things simultaneously that nothing else in your diet does. It keeps you full by triggering satiety hormones that carbohydrates and fat do not activate at the same level. It burns more calories just being digested. The thermic effect of protein sits between 20 and 30% of its calorie content, compared to 5 to 10% for carbs and nearly zero for fat. And it protects your muscle while you eat in a deficit, which matters because losing muscle slows your metabolism and makes every subsequent week of fat loss harder than it needs to be. 1 macronutrient, 3 jobs. For a busy person, that ratio is exactly what you want. So what is the actual target? The research lands consistently in the range of 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day for people trying to lose fat while preserving muscle. If you weigh 160 pounds, roughly 73 kilograms, your daily target sits between 88 and 117 grams. If you weigh 180 pounds, that becomes 100 to 133 grams. These are not bodybuilder numbers. A 2024 meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials identified this as the threshold for meaningfully better body composition outcomes during a calorie deficit compared to standard intake. Below it, and you are leaving results on the table. Above it, and the extra benefit becomes marginal. So do not let anyone sell you on 2 grams per kilogram, unless you are a competitive athlete with a very different set of problems. Here's the part that surprises most people. 3/4 of the average American's daily protein intake gets consumed at lunch and dinner, according to NHANES data. Breakfast is almost entirely protein-free for most people. A bowl of cereal, some toast, a coffee, which means the satiety hormones that protein triggers are absent for the entire first half of the day. Research from the University of Texas Medical Branch found the body can effectively use up to 30 grams of protein at one sitting for muscle protein synthesis. So that 80-gram protein dinner you are proud of is not doing 3 times the work of a 25-gram meal. The distribution matters. Spread protein across 3 meals and your hunger, muscle preservation, and energy all run significantly better across the entire day, not just after 6 p.m. Now the actual foods. The promise of this video is cheap and no cook, so we are being strict about both. Here's the no-cook list organized by cost per gram of protein, which is the only number that matters when your goal is hitting a daily target without your grocery bill becoming its own line item in the household budget. Canned tuna is the undisputed champion. A standard 5-ounce can of chunk light tuna in water delivers 22 grams of protein for around $1. That is roughly 4.3 cents per gram. Zero cooking, zero prep, zero skill. You open the can. The protein is already there. That's the whole process. Canned salmon sits in the same territory, around 25 grams per can, slightly higher price, slightly better omega-3 profile if that is relevant to you. One practical note on tuna for the people already grimacing: mixed with a tablespoon of hot sauce or mustard over rice, it tastes considerably less like something you're eating out of obligation. The protein content does not change, the experience of eating it does. Small detail, but the best no-cook protein source in the world does not help you if you refuse to open the can. Cottage cheese is the most underrated food on this list, and it is not close. A 1-cup serving delivers around 23 to 25 grams of protein. A 24-ounce container costs roughly $3 and contains approximately 75 grams of total protein, which puts the cost at around 4 cents per gram. No preparation required. Lid off, spoon in, done. It also contains casein protein, which digests slowly and produces prolonged satiety, meaning a cup at 10 p.m. is still suppressing hunger at midnight. For people who battle late-night eating, that is not a trivial detail. That's the actual solution. If you are finding this useful, hit subscribe because we do this every week for people who want the research without the noise. Greek yogurt works along the same lines, roughly 9 grams of protein per 100 grams, or 17 to 20 grams in a standard individual container, at around $1 per serving. One specific note: the store brand Greek yogurt delivers the same protein content as the premium branded version for about 30% less. That gap compounds into real money over a month of daily use. Buy the boring tub. Hard-boiled eggs deserve a specific mention here because they sit in an interesting middle ground. Eggs require cooking, but hard-boiling a dozen eggs once takes 12 minutes and gives you no-cook protein for the entire week. 6 eggs sitting ready in the fridge is 36 grams of protein that requires exactly 0 effort to access on any given day. At current egg prices of around 8 to 9 cents per gram of protein, significantly from 3.7 cents per gram at the start of 2022, they are no longer the cheapest option on the shelf, but the convenience of batch boiling once and eating all week makes them worth including. Protein powder earns its place specifically as a backup, not a foundation. A single scoop of whey delivers around 25 grams of protein, mixes in 30 seconds with water or milk, and costs around $1 per serving from most mid-range brands. We're not suggesting you live on shakes, but having a tub in the cupboard for the days when lunch fell apart and dinner is still 2 hours away keeps the daily number on track without requiring any decisions, any cooking, or any particularly functional version of yourself. Here's how the no-cook daily structure actually looks in practice. Breakfast is 200 grams of Greek yogurt with oats, 20 grams of protein, 5 minutes, no heat. Lunch is 1 can of tuna over whatever carbs or greens you have nearby. 22 grams, 2 minutes, 0 cooking. Afternoon snack is 1 cup of cottage cheese, 23 grams, 1 minute, lid off, and a spoon. That is 65 grams of protein before dinner from foods that collectively cost around $4 to $5 and took under 10 minutes of combined effort across the entire day. Dinner, wherever you cook or order something with a protein source, gets you comfortably over the line. That structure is not glamorous. It does not photograph well. It is also not complicated, not expensive, and does not require a meal prep Sunday or a functional relationship with your kitchen. The one scenario that derails this structure most consistently is being away from home. A full day of meetings, travel, or anything that puts you outside your normal environment without access to a fridge. This is where most people abandon protein entirely and coast on whatever's available. The fix is keeping 2 things in your bag as a non-negotiable: single-serve Greek yogurt or cottage cheese pot if you have access to any kind of cold storage, and a protein bar with at least 20 grams of protein as an absolute last resort. Not every protein bar earns that label. Most are glorified candy with 15 grams of sugar and 8 grams of protein, so read the label before you buy a box. Quest and similar brands consistently deliver 20 to 21 grams of protein per bar at around $2. Not ideal. Significantly better than skipping protein entirely and arriving home at 7 p.m. having hit 30 grams for the entire day. The biggest mistake we see busy people make with protein is treating it as something to figure out after everything else is sorted. It is not. Protein is the variable that makes the deficit work, keeps hunger manageable, and protects the muscle that keeps your metabolism running through the entire fat loss process. Eating 81 grams per day while trying to lose fat is the nutritional equivalent of driving somewhere with the handbrake slightly on. Everything technically works, just considerably worse than it should, and you spend the whole journey wondering why it feels harder than it looks. Pick 2 no-cook sources from this list, add them to this week's grocery run, build them into 2 of your daily meals starting tomorrow. That one change, done consistently for 30 days, outperforms any supplement, any protocol, and any program that promises results without doing the foundational work first. Drop a comment and tell us which protein source you are adding first. And if you want to see exactly how to build a full week of meals around these foods, with specific meals and macros, that video is right here.